In today's video, we are building Martin a 500 horsepower engine, hopefully. Sha, it's good to be back. What's happened since we've been away?
Yeah, good to see you. We have been preparing things whilst you've been gone. So we took the blocks that we separated last time, cleaned them up because they was a bit filthy. And then next stage for the blocks then is to get the machine to suit the stroke of pistons that we're going to be installing. So that goes to a specialist machining company. They make the right clearance for the forged pistons.
Yep.
So that's happened and we've got those back and we're doing the final cleaning process. Obviously after machining we need to make sure they're really clean. And then whilst that was happening, I was collecting parts for you for the build.
Which we've got here. So the plan for today is to have a short block back together.
Yeah, that's the aim. Providing we have no issues, that's where we'll end up today.
Okay, and in that short block will be these things here. They look amazing. I think let's start with this. You've been freaking out about this all morning. Tell us what this crank is. It's quite special.
Yeah, this is really nice. So it's a billet crankshaft, and the difference is there. It was one piece of material, and it's just been completely carved out of that. It's tougher, it's stronger, it's got better tolerances. It is. So this is like your supermodel of cranks. It's. This has got legs this long, it's beautiful. It's
these, I've never seen these before. They're almost like blade-like.
Yeah, we refer to those as knife edge.
Right, cool.
So this is a knife edge crank. It's balanced to less than 1 gram, which as a comparison, compared to a standard manufacturer's crankshaft, they aim for less than 3 grams. So this is less than 1 gram, and it's probably less than half a gram in reality.
Lovely.
So getting close to sort of Formula One balancing technology.
Very good. Okay, and then we've seen these before, the K1 rods and then these pistons. So this is our, hopefully, 500 horsepower-ish.
Yeah, so there's a few more things we're going to include, but for the actual short motor, we're going to start with the heart, and we've got the very best heart there.
Okay.
And then we're going to install pistons that are capable of producing the power, handling the heat. They come as a package with gudgeon pins and uprated rings, and obviously to connect that to that, we need rods that are capable too.
So the block is having one last clean. What's the first step of our engine build?
So on a flat engine, the first step is to start assembling the rods to the crankshaft with some racing bearings.
Okay, sounds awesome. I want to see that connected to that. It all looks so lovely. Let's crack on. Today's video is sponsored by our friends at K&N. They're back sponsoring the channel because a while ago they sponsored me driving probably the greatest car I have ever driven, a V8 BMW 1M. So they're back to see if Martin can take that crown away from the Beamer. Considering an engine is basically just a glorified, slightly fiery air pump, having a trick intake system can really help create high horsepower. Martin will soon be on this very dyno, and what will help him is getting as much cold, dense air into his 4 cylinders as possible. And K&N has very kindly sent us their performance intake system for the EJ20 engine. I'll put the part number somewhere on screen so you Scooby owners can check it out for yourselves. Let's do a quick unboxing and see what we've got. So we have a cotton performance filter, a heat shield, an aluminium intake pipe, and a bunch of other fixtures and fittings. This heat shield will be especially important as it adds to our heat management measures that we've started to take through the Zerco-teching of the exhaust and turbo bits. There's no point in having a fancy air filter if all it's doing is sucking in the hot under bonnet air. So this heat shield will make sure that the intake air into Martin's engine is as cold as possible, meaning he can make good power. This conical filter features oiled cotton, which catches any nasties before they enter your engine while keeping its passages clear to maximise airflow. You also only have to clean it every 100,000 miles, and this whole kit takes less than an hour to install, something that we will show later in the video. If you would like to upgrade your car in a similar way through a K&N intake system, click the link in the description below where you will be able to see what they provide for your car. Not only will it help your engine breathe better, but it will also make your engine bay look awesome, something that you will see in a bit. It was time for the build to commence, starting with installing the squeaky clean rod bearings, making sure to thoroughly lubricate them once in place. Then the first con rod was assembled and torqued.
So we cleaned it, we installed it, and we've just completed the 2 stages of the torque sequence.
Okay.
Even though we've cleaned it to death, we just want to do one final check, which is to see that the rod is spinning very, very silky over that crankshaft.
Okay, so what do you want me to do with this then?
Hold it perfectly upright.
Yes.
And then let it just fall one way on its own.
That already feels amazing, but...
And what we're looking for is a completely silky smooth fall, and then try it the other way.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, and we're feeling for any play when we grab it. What can we feel?
It feels amazing.
That's how it should feel.
Oh. Okay, another 3 of them then.
That's it. Easy as that.
What a job. I love this shit. So we've built the crank and we've got our 2 clean halves of the block here, big end bearings and washers. What's the procedure from here on in?
So yeah, we will assemble all the washers onto the bolt. We'll replace all the internal block washers. We'll replace the silicone seals. We'll clean it, obviously, make sure everything's really, really clean.
Sure.
And then it's a case of positioning the crank, bolting the 2 halves together, torquing to spec.
So first things first, even more cleaning.
Yes, please.
Okay. Everything is lubricated, so we're dropping in the crank now. What am I doing here?
So you're just paying some attention now, because of the style of the engine, that we get the correct con rods to drop into the correct cylinders off obviously the crankshaft. So on this particular half that we're going to start the assembly with, we're going to drop cylinder 1 and cylinder 3 through
down
and ensure that 2 and 4 are on the other side, so that when we put the engine together, they're sitting the right.
Okay, so if I hold 2 and 4,
yeah,
like that, and then 1 and 3 drop.
Yeah, so if we can twist the crankshaft ever so slightly this way.
Okay.
Yeah, how do you feel? Okay?
Yep, got it. And then just straight down?
Yeah, so we're just paying some attention to where these 2 con rods are sitting. Does that make sense now? Mm-hmm. Looking good. A little bit. That's it. Tiny little adjustment. We're just gonna... There you go.
There it goes.
Yeah? And then a quick little twist. Make sure everything's free.
Yeah, feels
Excellent.
good.
That's fine. So just gently rest the con rods into a comfortable position. Happy days, that's good. That's ready now for us to start working on the other half.
Okay, so I remember when we cracked the block, we were kind of cracking silicone. So is that now what we're doing? Basically reapplying that onto
exactly that. We're going to apply a nice even coat of the correct silicone, the 3-pond silicone, and then when we're happy that we've got the right coverage in the right places, we're then going to offer this half to that half and bolt it up to the torques.
Okay, and are we lubricating those bearings in the same way as those ones?
Exactly the same.
Okay, cool. So we're not too far away from being back together.
Yeah, we're close.
So exciting. block is back together, and before the end of today we want the pistons in. So first job is the rings. What's this little worksheet here?
So whenever you buy some new pistons, you should receive with that set of pistons some instructions for the machinist and some instructions for the engine builder.
Okay.
The machinist works from the sheet to machine the clearance from piston wall to piston, and the engine builder needs to make a decision based on the application of what clearance he wants or what gap he wants in the rings.
Okay, so it's already been machined.
So this has been machined to accept the right clearance between the piston and the wall. Now it's for us to set the gap, the distance between the rings for what we're going to use the car for.
Okay.
So when you receive the pistons new, you get some different sizes for different applications.
Okay, so street moderate, turbo nitrous, that's what we're going for.
Yeah.
So 0.0050 and 0.0055, what are they?
So they are what we need to base this calculation on.
Okay.
So we take the bore size, accurately measure the bore size, which we've done, and then we use that size, times it by the application size that we want, and that then gives us a clearance. So between 0.016 and 0.025 is the range usually that you will find your rings.
Okay, so what measurement are we doing now then?
So when we've calculated this, we are going to set top ring to 0.018, and we are going to set the second ring to 0.020. Okay,
using this device here?
Yeah.
Okay, show us how it's done.
So basically this is just a standard set of feeler gauges that I've had with a little turn on the end just to make it a bit more easy for when we're trying to look from this angle. If it was sort of here, it gets a bit, I find it easier to have my sort of hand out the way resting, and we can check the gap of the ring. Obviously there's no ring there, but when we start just testing the rings and filing the rings to size, this is what we'll use.
Okay, let's get them in.
Okay, then. So we've filed this one to size, yeah. What we're going to do now is just make sure that we've got, it's absolutely key, critical, that this gap here, when it's in the position, is parallel to one another. We cannot have this, we cannot have this, it has got to be that, yeah, and it's got to be the right distance that we've set.
Okay, so just like square to each other.
It's really important, and people just don't pay enough attention to this part. I'm really happy with that gap now, and so you have to feel what I'm talking about. You can't just see it. So visually, it's parallel, it's beautiful. Pop that into that gap now, which is the desired size we want, and feel the resistance. It should be like a firm drag. Yeah, in and out, and then that's it. Feel it, grab.
Okay, yeah, so there's a tiny bit of grab.
Yeah, nothing more than that, nothing less. That is the perfect gap.
Okay, nice. So, now what?
So this ring is now complete. Same process with that ring.
Okay, and we're going to check every ring.
Every ring, yeah.
Okay, next ring. With the rings all checked and given the thumbs up, they were slid into place, followed by Shah carefully knocking the forged pistons into the block. All 4 pistons are now back in this engine, and this is now a short block. We're now going to go away for a few days, and Shah will continue with this build, and when we get back it will then be a long block with the heads on and all of the ancillaries back in place. If everything goes as smoothly as it has been going, hopefully by the end of this video this engine will have started up and be running great. I've jinxed that now. See you in a few days. It has been 3 or 4 days since we were last here, and in that time, everything is now back on the engine, and by the end of today's video, we want to have that back in there and hopefully start Martin back up again. Shah, reinstalling this flat 4, is it engine in and then ancillaries, or do we need to do some jiggery pokery before we put the block in?
No, it's fairly straightforward. It is just the reverse of what we did when we removed it. So if we follow that system, everything will be fine and it'll go really well.
Okay, what's first then?
So we need to just get everything in the right position. What's important here is the angle of the dangle.
Okay.
We want everything very square and very aligned, and it will mate together really easily. We are going to keep the up pipe and the header separate. The reason I do that, it's my personal preference, but it's quite difficult to squeeze an up pipe through the gap between the subframe and the cylinder head when it's in location.
Okay.
So our experience teaches us to fit that first, leave the headers off, put the engine in its hole, and then when we've got everything mated together, we'll then install the headers without no damage, and it'll be perfect.
Okay, yeah. We don't want to scratch our brand new coated bits, do we?
No, somebody won't be very happy if we do that.
Okay, so first things first, bolting the turbo to there.
Yes.
Cool, let's see it. It's best to look at these components before the engine goes in the car. We've got our uprated turbo here with its brand new Zerkotech heat shield jacket. That is to the same level that you would see on a Formula One car, a current Formula One car. So cool, especially in this gold. And we've got the first bit of the exhaust system there that's been Zerkotech as well, the rest of which will go on later once this is all in there. Martin is getting a proper glow up. Shah, people might be asking why we've just built this engine to 500 horsepower, we're hoping, but we've put the original clutch and flywheel back on it. Why is that the case?
So I made the call to do this. This clutch was installed originally when we supplied the car. It was brand fire new. It's done next to no work. So I've made the call to install that back into the car whilst we do the running in process.
Okay.
2 reasons. Firstly, we do not need power for the running in. That's a more usable day-to-day clutch because running in miles are just crap. Secondly, when you install an uprated clutch, by the nature of the way they're made, they wear out very quickly by driving like a pansy.
Sure.
They work better when you just engage. All this slipping and driving steady will burn it out for no reason, and they're an expensive item. So that's why I've made the call to put that clutch back in whilst we do the running mods. When it comes back for its second round, well, its last round of mods prior to us achieving our final target, that's when I'll put a proper clutch in there.
Okay, so these running in miles, what do you recommend? What will this car do initially?
So it's a well talked about topic. I personally like the car to be driven in a very normal manner with no boost or minimal boost. Driven using lots of overrun, slowing down using the gears, letting the engine run as long as possible in both vacuum and positive conditions. That enables us to get the maximum amount of life out of that engine, and it makes the rings seal better, in my opinion. It's what I've always done, and it's worked, so I tend to stick with what I know.
Okay, and then after that, a bit of a service, a new clutch, and then on your dyno next door and send it to the moon.
Definitely.
Okay, so is everything on this block that we want to be on before we drop it in?
Nearly, but there's enough for us to start installing the engine into the car to make sure that there's no issues that we're not aware of, i.e. what we spoke about earlier on with some of the bracketry for the skid pans. So the next stage really before we get too far is let's install the actual unit now back into the vehicle.
Okay, let's drop in. Everything aligned perfectly, so the clutch was connected back up, and then the newly Zerkotech exhaust manifold was reinstalled, along with all of the hosing. Then came the final piece of the puzzle, the K&N induction system. She's in. I'm sweaty, I'm hot and bothered, but we've done it. So, we're ready to crank this engine over.
Yep.
You want me to do it? What am I looking for?
So, whenever we build a new engine, what we want to do is we want to test oil pressure in the most safest way that we've got available to us. So, in this instance, we haven't got an engine dyno. We haven't got the facility to do it any other way. What we favour is disconnecting a sensor in some way, shape or form to stop the engine starting and wanging it.
Sure.
We do this because it's a slower RPM and we wait for the oil pressure light to go out, which is the minimum oil pressure any engine needs by manufacturer's description.
So I'll crank it over and just wait for the oil light to ping off and then we should be good to go. Okay, let's do it. Let's see if all this work has come to anything. Confident?
Yeah, of course.
She's building, she's building. Waiting for that light to ping out. Sounding good so far.
Yeah, light stayed on.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got an uprated 12mm pump here. So it's unlikely that at that speed it's going to build that pressure. But did you hear what I was talking about?
Yeah, it picked up.
You heard, lazy, okay, I'm up now, I've had a bit of breakfast, I'm ready. But it wasn't ready, so what I'm going to do now is we're going to start it and stop it very quickly to spin it up to about 600-700 RPMs, just to spin the pump quicker, and then oil light will be out, and then we'll start it.
Okay, so we're going to let it catch, but then straight off.
Yeah. So as soon as it catches, off.
Yeah. I got scared. Okay. Stayed on.
Is the light on now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Start it, leave it running for a second, which feels like forever. If the light goes off, leave it. If it settles at about sort of 1400 RPMs and the red light is off, leave him. If the light stays on, turn it off instantly.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Bloody hell, that's nerve-wracking. So I just leave it running?
Yeah, leave it there. Lights off. Okay, kill him.
What does your master ear tell you there?
That we're in Badmans and we build the best engines.
Yeah?
Yeah, stunning, linear, smooth, on all 4 cylinders, no knocks, no rattles, no nothing. Right first time.
Is that only what happens in here? First
of course.
time fires?
Yeah, make preparation, cleaning, preparation, perfect.
You have one of the most satisfying jobs in the world.
Thank you.
You go through all that process and then you do that and it just sings.
Stressing L gets there. Just covering all bases, making things right.
Cool. This has been a cool trip. With that, Martin is back alive. I've absolutely loved my time here at pole position, and that engine should be good for 500 plus horsepower. To get it there, it's now going to have a 1,000 mile run-in period, at which point it'll be uprated with an uprated clutch, uprated injectors, and we'll whack it on the dyno and see what it's up to. We have been reading the comments. Do not worry, guys. We are gonna fix Martin's bonnet. It was an agreement between Richard and I to keep that bump as part of his Grand Tour history, but don't worry, we're gonna get it to the cog and we're gonna sort it out. If you want to see Martin in person, he will be on the K&N stand at the Goodwood Festival of Speed. So if you want to check him out at any point over the weekend, head over to their stand and you'll see him in all of his glory. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. I've been Mike, and don't forget to subscribe to DRIVETRIBE.